Warning, this video will contain some spoilers for Attack on Titan. I'm not warning you again, and if I see you complaining about spoilers in the comments, I will feed you to the Smiling Titan. Hello everyone, welcome to episode 14 of Contestant Loadouts, the series where I give you fun loadouts to try in the finals. Keep in mind, these loadouts aren't meant to be meta so much as they are to be fun. So save your comments on how bad this loadout is, because I really don't care. Today's loadout is one I'm pretty excited for, as it's based on my favorite anime, Attack on Titan. We'll be grappling around the arena and taking down heavy and medium players, just like the Survey Corps takes down Titans and enemy soldiers that like to camp with machine guns. And if that last bit just spoiled one of the biggest reveals in the show for you, well, I warned you about spoilers, so don't get mad at me. Seriously, just go watch Attack on Titan if you haven't already. Even if you don't really like anime, it's a really good show.
Don't talk shit about Attack on Titan. It's a really good show.
But if you're still watching, I'm assuming you've seen the show, or you just don't care about spoilers. So having that in mind, let's get geared up like a scout and swing into the arena with our ODM gear. Before I get into the loadout, I know some of you are probably thinking this should have been a medium loadout with dual swords and a zipline, but I think the light class captures the essence of being a scout a lot better. Not only is the light class a lot more mobile, but the light class is also a lot more fragile than the medium class, which is much more like the experience of being a scout. If you've seen Attack on Titan, then you know how easily the scouts can get got. So with that in mind, let's go over the loadout. Our specialization is the grappling hook. Probably the most iconic piece of gear for the Survey Corps is their ODM gear that allows them to grapple from one thing to another, and the grapple hook allows us to do the same. The weapon is another iconic part of the Survey Corps' kit, the sword. Unfortunately, the dual swords are only available on the medium class, so we'll have to settle for using one sword. Who knows, maybe one day they'll move the dual swords to the light class, cause God knows none of the medium players are using them. The first gadget we'll be using is smoke grenades. The Survey Corps uses smoke flares as a way to signal each other and sometimes for cover. Smoke doesn't serve much signaling purpose in the finals, but we can still use it for cover. Next up, we'll be using the thermal bore. In Season 3 of Attack on Titan, the scouts begin fielding an explosive device known as the Thunder Spear. This is a mobile explosive that they launch to destroy enemies or the cover they hide behind. Coincidentally enough, the thermal bore even has a delayed explosion just like a Thunder Spear. The final gadget is the frag grenade, a gadget that the scouts start using in the final season of Attack on Titan. Now that we have everything we need to take down the Titans, let's get you dressed up like a scout. There's actually a few different ways you can do this as the scout uniform evolves over the course of the show. First off, if you have the Metro Drifter set, take off the mask and put on a different pair of boots, and it kind of looks like the scout uniform in Season 4. Alternatively, you can use the Relic Roamer set, minus the hat, to mimic the Season 1 uniforms without the jacket. All the belts and straps on it kind of make it look like the harnesses that the scouts wear for their ODM gear. But if you prefer the look of the scouts with the classic jacket, I think there are a couple jackets that could make it look like that. I just thought that the Relic Roamer set and the Metro Drifter set were a better fit. But whether you decide to dress like a scout fighting for the survival of humanity, or a scout fighting for the extinction of humanity, Hey, I already warned you about spoilers, fuck off. Anyways, let's start learning how to play like a scout. Alright, listen up, maggots. This is your initial training in the Survey Corps. The Scout loadout is all about getting kills by picking off stray or low health enemies. But don't get too excited yet, because playing the Scout in the finals is a lot like being a Scout in Attack on Titan. What exactly does that mean? Well, Commander Erwin said it best.
今期の新兵にも1ヶ月後の壁外調査に参加してもらうが、死亡する確率は3割といったところか。4年後にはほとんどが死ぬだろう。しかし、それを超えた者が生存率の高い優秀な兵士となっていくのだ。
That's right. I've made some loadouts that aren't very competitively viable over the course of this series, but this one is pretty rough. The main reason being that the sword fucking blows without the dash. So be prepared to take L's on top of L's just like a scout would with this loadout. And if you're not strong enough to endure this pain, feel free to walk away. Or click off the video, I guess. But for those of you willing to give your heart and soul to the cause of running goofy loadouts in the finals, so we can finally break away from every game being filled with a bunch of TTV medium sweat lords, let's learn some tactics and tips to keep you alive as much as possible in the arena. First off, much like a scout would kill a titan by grappling and attacking from the rear, you should aim to do the same. Get to a high vantage point, figure out who's at the back of the enemy formation, and attack from that angle. You're pretty vulnerable to machine gun fire as a scout, so as soon as you take some damage, get out of there and repeat the process. There's some combos you can use to get kills as fast as possible. I'm putting them on screen right now, but keep in mind that combos involving lunges might be a bit harder to pull off without the dash. The lunge hitbox is, understandably, like half an inch, but this can result in a lot of moments where you'll be yelling, "How the fuck did that not hit?" Now I suck with the lunge, but maybe you'll have more luck with it. For the most part, I just looked for guys out on their own, away from the prying eyes of any enemies, and just went crazy with the slashing. But thankfully, we have plenty of gadgets we can use to our advantage to help us secure some extra kills. First off, we have the frag grenades, which are pretty solid. You can use the frags to deal a chunk of damage to your enemies before you grapple in and finish the job with your sword. Just be careful not to grapple in too early and blow yourself up. Next up, we have the thunder spears, which don't do too much damage to your enemies, so don't even bother. I have like 1 kill with these things ever since they released back in June, and that was on a very low health enemy who was right next to the explosion when I blew up his barricade. Blowing up barricades and any other cover that the enemies are using is the best use of your thermal bores. This lets you get a better visual on the enemy setup and gives your teammates a line of sight they can use to give you some covering fire while you flank around your enemies. Before you go in for the kill, it helps to cut off the lines of sight for your enemies with guns by spamming some smoke on them. Be sure not to throw all your smokes though, because they take a while to recharge and inevitably you're gonna take some damage. So make sure to keep at least 1 smoke handy to cover your retreat. So the basic flow of your fights when you're playing the scout loadout should go something like this. Get to a vantage point using your grapple, find where the enemies are posted, use the thermal bore to get rid of their cover, and while your team is shooting at your enemies, flank around them, then pop smoke and maybe a grenade if you have one, towards your enemies before attacking and sending them back to the paths. Now for some miscellaneous tips to increase your odds of survival. For starters, all the gameplay you've been seeing is from Bank It and Power Shift, which this class isn't too bad for, but I did play a few rounds of Cash Out with it and boy it was rough. I suppose if you're already a sword main, you'll have better luck, but I got shit on pretty hard there. Mostly cause half the players in that mode are 3-stack mediums who constantly dick ride each other like Mikasa dick rides Eren. So if you do play any of the Cash Out modes, good luck. Next up, unless they're at low health, it's never a good idea to attack a heavy on your own. If we were using dash instead of grapple, then maybe, but you're not the Jaw Titan, homie, so wait for your team to back you up or go after one of the heavy's teammates. On the topic of fighting heavies, the thermal bore can one-shot barricades, and the frag grenade can be thrown into their bubble shields, so you do have 2 good ways of getting rid of their cover, so your teammates can help you take them out. And finally, don't overestimate how much cover the smoke gives you. I can't tell you how many times I was standing in the center of a smoke cloud like a dipshit, only to get whacked in the end, because the enemies still saw me. Smoke is good for covering your approach and retreat, but not very good at hiding you if you're standing right inside of it. And with that, you're now ready to get sent into the meat grinder against the heavy mains, Model 1887 sweat lords, and invisible light rats with tasers. I know that sounds cruel, but think of it this way. Half of the experience of being a scout is watching your buddies get absolutely demolished by the cruelty of the world. But what was it that Commander Erwin said?
My soldiers do not buckle or yield when faced with the cruelty of this world. My soldiers push forward. My soldiers scream out. My soldiers rage!
Seriously, if you haven't already watched Attack on Titan, go watch it. Even with a bunch of the things being spoiled to you at this point, it's still worth the watch because it's that good. Also, I intentionally left out a lot of the big twists and reveals in this video, so you still got a lot of good revelations to look forward to when you watch the show. But whether or not you decide to check out Attack on Titan, thank you guys for watching and have a good one.